Well, good afternoon / good morning, everybody. A little bit earlier than usual, but it's a football Monday, and before long, it will be the real thing, and it'll be a football Monday where we're recapping what happened over the weekend for Michigan. But right now, we are still looking forward as the season is rapidly approaching. There's Jim Scarcelli on the screen, and we're tackling this thing this morning going after. We're usually here at 2 o'clock on Mondays, but the schedules. It's a great thing about being in the podcast world, Scar, is that when things come up, you can change the schedule just like that. How about that?
Yeah, it's beautiful, Denny. I'm rocking my Jack Harbaugh T-shirt. You know, Jim Harbaugh gets credit for it, but I heard this statement 40 years ago from the old man. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. So I'm rocking the Jack Harbaugh T-shirt, and we are in the middle of camp, and they're hot, and they're grinding, and getting better, and all the reports is confidence and depth, and that's what we're hearing, man.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion, of course, about this upcoming season, and I've seen a few Michigan fans saying, there seems to be more optimism about the upcoming season than last year. Like, it was different than last year. Last year was weird and different for a lot of reasons. The first one is that Michigan was coming off a national championship. So when you're coming off a natty, you just sit around the whole summer, man. You're just enjoying the flowers and the sunshine and, the upcoming season. Everyone was like, yeah, the upcoming season is going to be great. Why not? Of course, they had Sherrone Moore debuting as a head coach. So that was different. So I don't know the difference. And the whole thing last year, if we're pointing to what, fell apart, I think we'd all agree it's the quarterback. And then Michigan gets like the greatest prep quarterback ever in their own backyard. And it looks like now he's going to start for sure. And so, that will get people. There's a lot of things in there. You just look at it and say, yeah, there's going to be people that are very optimistic about this upcoming season. And you don't have to go much further than those couple things right there.
Yeah. There's three different groups there, I guess, for a fan base. Yeah, I'm just an old fan guy now. As a fan base, we want to be confident and fired up and have belief in everything, our coaches and our players. But as a player and as a coach, there's a lot of good sometimes, Denny, in being kicked in the face and being pissed off and everybody disrespecting you. That's good sometimes too. And then there's also good when when you're feeling confident, but humble. So that it's the mindset. That's why, the psychology of where we're at as a team, that's on our leader and Sherrone Moore, and he has to instill that. And I've been on both sides of that as a player and coach, and it's just how you handle it.
Yeah, there's no reason to be worried about Bryce Underwood unless you just, historically freshman quarterback makes you nervous. I understand that. I think there could be another slight bit of concern that Bryce Underwood's all they got. They brought Mikey Keene and he was not available in the spring. He possibly could be slow to be ramping up here in fall camp. And so you could say, well, he's not being pushed by anybody. He doesn't have any competition with Davis Warren being hurt. I don't know about Jake Garcia, but we didn't see a whole lot from Jaden Davis, my opinion, in the spring game. So you could say he's just hopefully he is ready and all of that because he's all they got. Now, maybe he would be, pushed by 4 or 5 all healthy quarterbacks and he would win the job anyways, going away. But, I think if we're nitpicking small concerns, being a true freshman quarterback and not necessarily being pushed could be some things that you might, you have it in the back of your head. You got any thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't really know which guy's going to, we're all believing it's going to be Bryce, but who's the backup? There might be some good. I don't, ever want to see a guy get hurt. No. Keene being out, Bryce got way more reps than he would have got, and so did Jaden Davis. So I'm a believer. I'm gonna be on the positive side, believing that Jaden Davis is going to continue to develop to be a productive quarterback. I'm a believer in that kid. I shook his hand at the fundraiser a while back, and I'm a believer in that he's going to continue to develop. I think the Garcia kid is going to be a solid guy that'll be available. And we don't know where Keene is, and we don't know how long till Davis Warren gets back. But this camp, 5 weeks of camp before you play a game is good. Multiple guys get multiple reps, and then and having New Mexico is great. And how those reps are distributed in that game is crucial. Who's the second guy in is crucial, and all those reps really matter in terms of developing developing that room. But I've said it, Denny. What I want from Bryce, if he's the guy more than anything, I want all the little things, man, Denny. I want snap from center. Quarterback center exchange. I want all the handoffs proper, good, jet sweep, motion, fake the jet, all that. When I was coaching, Denny, I used to give my offense way more time in full team, way more time in everything. High school, you can't just, it's not like college where you can divide, but I gave them a hell of a lot more time, my offensive full team sessions, because I always felt the greatest thing I could do for my defense was have an offense that secured the football. So we spent tons of time on all that stuff I just talked about, the quarterback exchange, the handoffs, and that your quarterback and your running backs, they get all that stuff down where there's no fumbles in the backfield. Because you think about games we lost, you dropping the punt at Michigan State that one year, you know what I mean? And some of the stupid but anyway, that's the stuff I really want to see from him, because that's little stuff. And I said I get more excited watching him in that spring game throwing the high percentage 5-yard passes, and I'm believing he's going to keep getting. I'm believing he's going to keep continuing to be better at doing that stuff. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at.
Well, it's a very good thing to point out and emphasize as a former player and coach. We get all that. I think that these first 3 road games where they've got to go to Oklahoma and they've got to go to Nebraska and they've got to go to USC, I think that's going to tell the tale. And those games are coming up in the first 6 games, so we're going to find out a lot quick. And if you could tell me in those 3 road games that you would get a clean game from Underwood with handling the offense, getting the plays in, protecting the football, all the things that you just talked about, I think I feel pretty good about Michigan being able to win 2 out of 3 of those. And if they do win 2 out of 3 of those, well, then they're sitting in a really good spot to have the kind of season that Michigan fans want, and that is getting to the postseason. So all of that, with those first 3 road games being right there is right in front of them. So
yeah, because Benny, he played in the Belleville offense, which is a one back. He was probably one back 90% of the time. And there wasn't a whole lot of faking and ball. I'm thinking though that Chip is going to be he's getting way more stuff, just handoff stuff, way more footwork stuff, different formations and faking the jet and faking the power and faking. There's a lot more stuff that he just has to get that stuff narrowed down. And it sounds simple, but because I just think we're going to be a more creative offense, Denny. That's my prediction with Chip, is that we're going to have a firm, solid, foundational Sherrone Moore belief system, but we're going to have you remember Statue of Liberty when we beat Ohio State the first time? You remember the halfback, the Mullings jump pass to beat Ohio State? You remember Donovan Edwards throwing the ball to beat Iowa in the championship? Of course, we have a foundational stuff, but you cannot be afraid to be deceptive, okay? And you have to have it in, because when you're going against good, smart defensive coaches, and we're going to talk about some of those guys, you can't be afraid to be a little sneaky.
Well, what I've seen in football's gone that way. We just have to look at the Detroit Lions. Actually, for both of these things, the Lions are the new don't be afraid of anything out there. I mean, they're not afraid to do anything at any time, at any point, at any game, regardless of the circumstances. We should also point out, they won 15 games, talking about the Lions last year, and had the number 1 seed and everything looked great, but then they couldn't secure the football against the Commanders, and Jared Goff, a seasoned vet, absolutely fell apart. And so there you go. You can see how fast it can go the other way when it comes down to that.
Yeah, well, it's all the same stuff. It's about you always start with securing the football, and the Lions are the blueprint. That's why I love Campbell's approach. He just like, hey, I can't go by the book all the time. Can't be afraid to do it when you're going against good people that have good players and smart coaches.
And I think Sherrone, there's a lot. The one that jumps out at me was the Rose Bowl in the championship season against Alabama. I think it was in the first half. Samaj Morgan botched the punt, and the very next time that he was out on the field, Michigan was able to get the ball back. The first play call was a screen to Samaj Morgan. Got him right back up on the horse. So, and they were throwing the ball, and so those are things that I've seen from Sherrone Moore as an offensive coordinator. He's on the let's stay aggressive. Where
you got to keep a defense on balance, Danny. Too, yeah. Just I'll disagree with when I talk to some of my teammates. I'm still calling for 7 offensive linemen 2-3 times a game. I like that because I know as a defensive coach, I got to prepare for that. I got to now have 5-6 defensive linemen ready to go in the football game on a 5-second notice at all times. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's bringing in 7 dudes. Okay, where are my guys? You know what I mean? I don't just decide. You have to prepare for that stuff. So if you run 7 offensive linemen a couple times a game, 2-3 times every other game, the guy has to prepare for it, and all that stuff adds to getting them away from preparing for your best stuff.
Now, do you want Venables against New Mexico? Do you want to bring out the 6-7 offensive linemen, or do you not want to do that? Where Venables is like, okay, we don't have to practice for that because they didn't show it. Although he'll know everything about going.
Danny, I always took the philosophy as a coach. I wanted to work on it, and I'd rather him see it. I'd rather work on some of the stuff and make sure that my guys all knew what the hell they were doing, and because we had a scrimmage, high school we have the same kind of thing, a preseason scrimmage, and you could show everything. And it's, everybody has different, but yeah, I wanted to make sure I worked on it. So I got all the mistakes coached out of it, and let the guy see it. Fine. He has to work on it. I might not even run it against him, but he has to see it and deal with it. And I wanted to work out the mistakes.
Yep. I'm with you on that. Now, as we continue talking about Michigan, there is some news that has come out, and it's in the recruiting realm, and not for this upcoming season. Michigan has a quarterback commit for this upcoming season in Brady Smigel as in a commitment, but the 27 class, I have a picture of a quarterback out of Massachusetts, 6'4", 205. His name is Peter Bourque. And, great things coming out of Massachusetts. Ray Bourque, the great hockey player who went on and won a cup with the Colorado Avalanche. But here's Peter Bourque, 6'4" quarterback, who is the number 7 rated quarterback, Rivals industry rank. And Steve Wiltfong from On3 has put out one of his predictions that Michigan is going to land Bourque sooner rather than later. I saw, and this is a great time to sign up with the Maize and Blue Review early this morning, that Wiltfong was saying hi to all the Michigan fans. And it just seemed like a tease that by the time that you maybe watch this later today, you'll be like, oh, these guys knew that this morning. It looks like Bourque is in for Michigan sooner rather than later. So this is not small news. You go from Underwood to Smigel to Bourque. These guys are all. I mean, there's being Underwood. I mean, there's nobody ahead of him. But both Smigel and Bourque are two quarterbacks that are very well thought of to follow up Underwood. This is Michigan doing a great job at the hardest position to recruit and to get out there on the field. What do you think if this comes true later on today?
Yeah, Denny, I took a little look at his film. Same blueprint. Sherrone Moore wants tall, accurate, athletic. He's athletic enough. He's accurate, smart, tough, competitive. Hopefully he is those things. And you got to wonder if Massachusetts, if the kid grew up being a Tom Brady fan, if that's any factor. But it's great news that this is Michigan, where every year, you can't be afraid. You want to play for the best. You can't be afraid to compete against the best. So they're not. They understand. They got good players. They're recruiting good players, and it's great news, man. Tall. He wants height. Sherrone Moore likes tall quarterbacks, and he likes tall receivers. Can't coach height, Denny.
Scar, if I put this picture up on the screen, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it out. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I'm a Brady fan, man. I've always been so proud of, Denny, I must say, I always evaluate a pro guy. People ask me about this guy, that, or whatever. The first question I see him. The first question for me as a former high school, middle school coach is, does the guy make my job easier as a 7th grade basketball coach? Does he make my job easier as a high school football coach? You follow me?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is, like, does he give the ball to the official like Barry Sanders? Does he talk about his team like Tom Brady? You know what I mean? Is he a team guy? So, yeah, Brady's I love him, man. I never met him, but he's Michigan, and I'm happy for him. And, yeah, he's great, man. They got his statue up there, and man.
I like the statue myself, but statues, like art, people will all have their opinions. It's a good-looking statue, I would say. It looks like him. Not all statues, you see Dwayne Wade's statue, and you're like, whoa, what was that? But, this looks like Tom Brady. I did see somebody saying, why don't they have him throwing the ball? And I don't know. It looks like a great statue to me. Scar, double question to you. What did you think of the statue there? And could you ever see a statue of Tom Brady in Ann Arbor?
I don't think so, Denny. I don't think so. I must say this about Michigan football. If people ask about players, this, that, or whatever, coach, in my opinion, there's only one guy in the history of Michigan football that I think is really, really special, and that's Fielding Yost, because I think Fielding Yost put Michigan on the map. I think if Fielding Yost would have gotten his first job at Wisconsin would have had a tradition like Michigan. Or if he got his job at Illinois, they would have been but he went to Michigan, and the Michigan stadium was built. The tradition was started. Michigan is Michigan. That's just my opinion, Danny. I think any player and coach after that is all part of the team. And I just think Yost is special.
Michigan overall, we could get 100 people sitting around, and your voice would be one that I think a lot of people would shake their head. I'd say it's tricky at Michigan because they have such great history. I mean, you're talking about Yost. I could get over here and say, Charles Woodson, look what he's doing. Not only what he did, on the field at Michigan, look what he's, continued to do. And if you could say, well, just go to the Heisman Trophy winners, Desmond's also in that realm. You'd go back and, say the Harmon family. Wow, where would you put those statues? All of those would look good. You could start jumping in and say, well, and for people of, around my age and my generation, you'd say, Anthony Carter, could really, if you're going to put a statue up, nobody, was more popular than AC. So this is the difficult part. And then, you're you get to just the 2 years ago, and you talk about the Harbaugh, and then JJ and Blake, and how much that team was beloved. You could start retiring jerseys. And
there you go, Danny. You're answering the question. I remember Bo saying, and I totally agree with him. Bo saying, as long as I'm coaching, we ain't retiring no damn numbers. I got three guys over here wearing the same damn number. I got 2 guys over here wearing the same number. The hell with that. I'm not retiring. I mean, he makes total sense.
Yeah.
You got guys sharing numbers because these dudes got their number retired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Bo was so against that. So you didn't see nobody's getting retired on his watch.
Yeah. Or, they just, you can retire the number or put it up, but you actually keep it in circulation. I don't think anybody would want to retire the number 1 and the number 2, although AC and Anthony Carter, I mean, those guys, Anthony Carter and Charles Woodson, you'd say, wow, man, if you're going to start retiring numbers, you could do it. But then you just saw, like, Dave Brandon tried to do something tricky. I don't know, he's bringing he tried, and he just kind of bobbled it. He didn't do it. So, yeah, maybe, hold off on statues and retiring numbers.
That's my thought. Just forget all that stuff. We're all team, man. Michigan guys are team guys. They've heard it 1,000 times.
Well, let me ask you that. They named the tunnel, which is after Lloyd Carr, and then after that there was a bunch of stuff that went on in the tunnel, which it was not related at all to Lloyd Carr or anything else, but it was interesting because the Lloyd Carr tunnel got a lot of run after they named it after him. What about Harbaugh? So could you see one time that they would say the field, Jim Harbaugh Field, or I know he's not in the game for that or anything, but so you get creative in the different ways that you can honor past greats, things like that.
Yeah, knowing Jim, he maybe want like a coach's office where they strategize. Something minimal.
He might want his bust over at the library or something.
Yeah,
that is something Harbaugh.
I know, he would want something, a little small section of a practice field, a corner or something. He's not. That's his mindset. But those are good ways to honor people. But yeah, in terms of players, Denny, I would get away from the player stuff.
Let me throw some questions at you because, and this is a good reason. I assume that the people that have just, the people that have shown up and are watching this live and are giving us questions about Michigan football, I'm thinking that they are following the YouTube and subscribing because then it pops up when we are on. And that is one of the reasons. It's free to subscribe. You always hear people saying, subscribe and rate and all that and follow. But yeah, this is one of the ways that you do it. So when we do go live on a Monday and go early, you will be able to know. So let's throw that your way. Let's throw some questions Scar's way as we sit here. Robbie says he had to do a double take on the notification. Because it was
you Robbie, man, it's like football, sudden change, man. We turn the ball over. You got to be ready, baby. You don't know when you're going to get the call. So yeah, we're up and running. And what else you got there, Denny?
Well, let's just go through some of them here. Greg says lean on the running backs early to set the tone. Work in the pass game slowly with a freshman. What do you think of that game plan?
Well, that's if you believe that. If I'm defending Michigan. If I'm New Mexico, if I'm Oklahoma, and I'm defending Michigan, what would you do against a freshman quarterback?
I would.
You would overload. You would overload and try to crush their run game, right?
Yes, I would. That's right.
And you would make him beat you. You'd make the freshman quarterback beat you, right? With his arm.
I would throw a bunch if I was.
Okay, so
that's trying to confuse him. Yeah.
You would do everything to crush the run game, even if you have to overcommit. And you would try to make this kid beat you with his arm and try to confuse him. So, I mean, that's what everybody's going to think. But what you have to do is, this is Chip now. Let's do things that can, offset that. What can he do? So we got smart guys, man. Let me say this about Chip too.
Chip
Denny.
Lindsay. Okay, yeah.
Dennis, please pay Scar's expense. Scar will bring home the dub, man.
Well, we're going to get to that in a point.
Anyway, let me just say this, Danny. I think the trend in college football, offensive coordinators, the high market guys. I keep talking about the Kansas guy. James Franklin went and stole his offensive coordinator. Why? Because he's creative. He does different crazy things, formations, stuff, and they fool people with things. So I just think you want to be creative. You want to be deceptive and difficult. Okay. And Denny, I just keep beating this up because I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it from Chip, that we're going to see, a lot of coaches talk about, well, you can't base your offense on smoke and mirrors. And I think, we're going to have a strong foundational gap scheme, Jim Harbaugh stuff, zone stuff that we believe in, but we're going to have enough smoke in there because you got to have a little fire in your offense. So again, I keep beating that up, but that's how you help the young quarterback, by running the football with some formational stuff that might give the defense trouble, with some shifting stuff. You know what I mean, Danny? There's ways to not put it on his arm that can confuse the defense. That if Venables says, well, I'm going to screw this kid and I'm going to overload and I'm going to rush and blitz and I'm going to stuff their run game. Well, we got answers. We got to have answers.
Oh, don't ever stop talking about Chip Lindsay, Scar. When you do, I feel like I should be sitting with a shiny robe in the choir and yelling amen. So I like what you're talking about.
Think about the spring game real quick. Look, remember the little fake run, reverse, the receiver went in motion, threw it back to Underwood, and we fooled the defense. You fooled Wink's defense. The kid got fooled. One guy got fooled, touchdown to Hoffman. It's a simple play to execute. It's a very simple play for the offense to execute that play. Couple of handoffs. You got to get the handoffs right, though. That stuff is what I'm talking about. The running back had to give it to the jet motion guy. He had to pitch it back to Underwood, and then he had to throw a wide open guy. But those are the little things I'm talking about that are not overly difficult to execute, that can confuse a defense.
Scar, when it comes down to September the 6th in the game at Oklahoma, you have traveled 2 games. I know you went to the Lions-Cowboys game a couple of years ago. You pick one. You went to the Army-Navy game. These are all since we've been doing the podcast. I mean, do you have interest? Should we try to get the ball rolling? Going to
I was thinking of going to one of my old teammates, Clay Miller's from Norman, Oklahoma, man.
Oh, so you even have you could stay maybe at a place to stay.
I've been on that campus. I've been to Oklahoma, man. They got a beautiful museum. You got to have. I've been to a lot of these places. Alabama got to have that. You got to have that museum, Danny. These recruits go on a visit. I was in Oklahoma's campus, and I saw their football facility and the museum. Barry Switzer and Bud Wilkinson all over the place, and that stuff matters when you go on a recruiting trip. It's an arms race in a lot of ways. Who's got the biggest weight room? Who's got the nicest locker room? Who's got the softest, biggest, fattest recliner in the locker room? And who's got the biggest museum with all their great players? You know what I mean? So those are things when a kid goes on a recruiting trip, you look, they're promoting that stuff. Michigan has the same thing, man. We got a big museum for our past.
Michigan's got a museum, a bowling alley, a barbershop.
All that stuff.
Got everything. I don't know, and I remember it's been 20 years, but I remember going to Tuscaloosa and driving right through the heart of town, and like out in the field, they just got a statue of the Bear. Bear Bryant. They might have another statue out there as well, but I don't know if they have one of Nick Saban yet, but that's probably
his statue's out there.
Oh,
I'm gonna whip through a couple other notes I had here.
Okay,
we're in the middle of the grinding camp. It's a 5-week long deal, And I think these coaches are smart with diet, and they're keeping their strength. I think our players keep their strength a hell of a lot better than in earlier eras. So I'm really impressed with that. I talked to people again just recently. Tress, our strength coach, is getting it done. He's highly respected. The transition has occurred. He has the respect of the players, and we are up and running in the weight room. So I was happy to hear that. I keep hearing it because I'm talking to guys to try to get the update on that, and that's that. I want to say this too about Sherrone Moore. Two things that I think are impressive that I didn't know about. First, Denny, I didn't know he was a wrestler in high school. Did you know that?
Who?
Sherrone Moore was a big-time wrestler. He was a good wrestler.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, anyway, well, that one of my wrestling buddies, Mike Amin, was telling me that, a guy who wrestled at Michigan. But anyway, but the thing that's is correct or is important for Sherrone Moore for us to never, ever minimize the importance of it, Danny. Our players are not doing stupid things off the field. They're not doing dumb. I'm going to knock on wood. I don't want to jinx them. We're not doing dumb things off the field. Okay. And don't ever underestimate the importance of that. Because I think, again, when you hear players getting interviewed, what do? They talk about team. They talk about team. They talk about team. When you see players not doing stupid things off the field, that's all about the leader, man. That's all about the leader. That's culture, Denny. So when you see guys not doing dumb things, that's not by accident. It's because it's getting hammered.
Good points. Good points when it comes down to that. I don't know. It's a reminder for people that are just joining us. This is a one-off. Where there's some things that I have to do this afternoon. It's Michigan football. It's Maize and Blue Review related for me. And so I asked Scar, and he's very flexible. He was like, yeah, we can do it in the morning. But, Scar, I don't know. I don't see you often in the morning. But your hair, when you slick it back like this, and I've never thought of this because, if you wore a lot of flashy suits and everything, you look like Pat Riley. So back when he coached for the Lakers on the sideline. I mean, it was run and gun. It was flash. It was the great Pat Riley, who I believe is still the general manager of the Miami Heat. But, man, he slick that hair back a little bit more and get some suits on. We can start calling you Riles.
I like Pat Riley, man. When I became a head coach in high school, Danny, got my first job, Lloyd Carr, he gave me a book. He said, Scar, take a look at this book, Pat Riley's book. And the most important message in that book, Pat Riley has a whole chapter on the disease of me. The disease of me. And it's about me. No, it's about the team, man. It's about the team. Anyway, Lloyd gave me that book. I still got the book. Pat Riley. Yeah, yeah, Denny, I got it slicked back, trying to looking good here. Yeah, Donovan had a big run yesterday at Green Bay.
It got called back, but it did make me remember during the draft process where afterwards, and boy, it really made me sound like a real Michigan homer. But I think Donovan Edwards will make it in the NFL. And so when I saw him taking one to the house, that
was a great run, Danny, because he broke it. It was well blocked, but he outran some people. He looked good. It was a perfectly well blocked play, but he showed speed and it was great. And that was good. That was impressive.
He's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. I don't know what, but we'll see if that ends up happening or not. The New Life is talking about the running game with Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall, along with an exceptional defense, will get Michigan to 3-0 before the Big Ten season start. Keep passes to long handoffs as much as possible. And, if Michigan gets off to a 3-0 start and they are doing what the New Life is talking about, shades of 2021. I mean, if they get to 3-0, look, if they get to 2-0, they're going to get to 3-0. You start thinking, if they can win at Oklahoma, then why can't they win at Nebraska? And if they go to Norman and they go to Lincoln, then why can't they go out to California and beat USC? You start talking about being 6. I mean, it really, that's how it goes, and that's how you get excited about a season like that. It all
three brutally tough games. I love our schedule. I love it. If you're gonna start a freshman quarterback, I love that we have the first game at home. We're not opening up at Oklahoma. We got one get under his belt because his improvement will that first game to second game will be huge improvement. And second to third will be more. And then by the time he goes to Nebraska, he'll be damn good. And then by the time we get to Ohio State, it's irrelevant that he's a freshman. So I like our scrimmage, or I like our schedule.
Van Dam talking about Michigan did have a scrimmage, and there is a post from Josh Henschke on the Maize and Blue Review who, he typed, I don't know if it's 1,000 words or whatever, where he talked about the scrimmage. But what I would tell you, Van Dam, to me, the biggest thing that went on with the scrimmage is that Underwood looks like he's the man for Michigan. And when you're talking about the offensive line, it's looking like what has been speculated for most of the summer, that you've got Link, and then you've got El Hadi, then you have Crippen, and you have Sprague over at right tackle, and then over at right guard, probably a Phobie, but he's in a fiery competition at right guard. That's where I would say the fiercest competition for the starting spot on that offensive line is, but it's pretty well looks like it's ready to go for the opener. Besides that competition at right guard, so that's what I would say about.
That's what I'm hearing too. A lot of improvement from the spring game for a lot of players. It's amazing what 3 months does, especially for the young guys. A kid like Sprague, you're going to see big improvement from him. That's what I think. I just think some of those guys that are just the young ones, that's where you're really going to see it. And you're going to see when they put on that when we see them against New Mexico, you're like, wow, these dudes improved. And I just think the greatest thing about where our program is, and say, okay, how's the O-line look? Oh, how's the D-line? The bottom line is we got a lot of good players on both sides of the ball, Denny, and they are grinding and going against the best every day in practice. Like TJ Guy said, he was interviewed, he talked about Sprague, right?
Yes.
Because he knows how good he is. He's like, the dude's good, man. But that's how TJ Guy is going to get good. I got my ass kicked when I was a freshman by Ed Moransky and Bubba Paris and Kurt Becker, but that's how you get chiseled, man. You got to you get pounded by the good, when you're a young guy, and then eventually, okay, you're either going to quit or you're going to get tough.
Well, something that we've talked about, so they don't have what you would say a lot of proven playmakers. We can say, hey, it looks like Donovan McCulley as a pass catcher, and Marlon Klein, Hogan Hansen. These guys are going to be playmakers for Michigan in the passing game. And, we hear that, Samaj Morgan from Jordan Marshall is balling out in practice. So, you hear some of these things. I think what we can say is that Michigan has a lot of depth at these different positions, but like you've talked about, when you need depth is great, you also need those star playmakers to emerge. And so that's what we're everything's planted. You like the depth, you like to see it. Now, are we going to see, McCulley? I mean, is he really going to be a star wide receiver in the Big Ten? I mean, is a combination of Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall going to be the 1-2 punch that a lot of Michigan fans think they can be? You got 4 guys at defensive tackle, maybe 6. You got 4 edge guys. You got 6 linebackers. I mean, it's depth wise. Now, how are they going to sort those guys out to get them on the field, and who's going to emerge as the big time stars or playmakers? I mean, there's a way that it looks good, and you're kind of waiting to see. You have ideas on who these playmakers are that are going to emerge, but that's, I think, the fascinating part as we get to the Oklahoma game. Who would they be?
Well, I listened to Metcalf, one of our players, and he talked about Samaj, Moore, and McCauley being the top three. That's what he said, Metcalf. So, Denny, it all works together, man. You defend an offense. You can't run the football if you can't throw it. You can't throw it if you can't run it. And you got everybody has to be a part. You got to have a quarterback that can deliver. You got to have receivers that can make guys miss, catch the ball, get open, coaches that put them in difficult. It all has to come together. So, we learned it last year. You got to have all of it. Quarterbacks that can deliver, quarterbacks that can secure the ball, quarterbacks that can make plays on third down and avoid a rush. I think Sherrone has improved the talent. I think we're a more talented team offensively.
Yeah, for me, this is interesting. I think a lot of Michigan fans, and this is what TNL is saying, that he thinks this Michigan defense is top 5. Now, last year they were a top 20 defense, and we know what they did against Ohio State. We saw what they were able to do when some of the guys, sat out the ReliaQuest Bowl. So you should be very confident in this Michigan defense. They were top 5 against the run, but their 2 big DTs are out. I think that they could still achieve all of their goals, which is getting to, the big one for me is getting to the college football playoff. They don't necessarily have to have a top 5 defense. I don't even know if they have to have a top 10 defense. I don't think, maybe top 15. But that's the thing that I'm very curious about. I mean, are they going to be this? I mean, Michigan fans are talking about lights out, improved defense from last year. And I'm thinking, what I see, you got a lot of depth and everything, but I'm more around top 10, which I still think is fine. But Michigan fans are more thinking that this is going to be closer to the best defense in the country than they are one that would be like ranked in the top 20 where they were last year, number 19. So you got any thoughts there?
I mean, you look at where we're at Sherrone is going to say, look, I got a pretty damn good defense, and he's going to call and prepare and call the game at Oklahoma accordingly, thinking he has a defense that'll be able to stop people, maybe not, take risks, that or whatever. But yeah, Danny, look, on paper, we got great players coming back. This will be 5 years in a row in the system, and there's no reason that we're taking a step back at all. Defensively, we have everything on paper looks like it'll be every bit as good. But in terms of rankings and all that stuff, okay, can we control the ball? Can we secure the ball? Can we win some time of possession? Can we keep our defense off the field? Are we gonna have great punters? Get them starting on the 3-yard line, and not turn it over on our end. So there's a lot of things that get involved with that. But on paper, it looks great. Let's help our defense with offensive control.
Scar, I asked you, we mentioned Brent Venables. Now, he's one of the most decorated defensive coordinators of all time, winning championships and everything else. But he's the head coach at Oklahoma. I heard Phil Steele, I talked with him last week, and he just said, he talked about USC's defense being pretty good this year. I don't know. I really looked at the USC defense, but that stood out to me. When you look at these defenses, their coordinators, are there any of them that you're looking at and saying, hey, these are the guys that you're going to have to look out for because they have, I don't know if, Fickle, he's a defensive guy, but, he's the head coach. What do you think?
The defensive coaches we're going to go against, let me start with Venables. He's the defensive coordinator. He's the head coach, but he's also the coordinator. His first year, maybe or two, he tried to delegate it, and he wasn't getting what he wanted. So he is the defensive coordinator. He will be a little different than every other guy on our schedule. He believes in a lot of different fronts, a lot of different things. Michigan has a structure. Michigan, USC, Washington is very similar to us. But anyway, let me just keep going on Venables.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lot of stuff. he's going to be a lot of empty against us because I don't think he wants to try to get physical with our defense. I'm kind of going off track. I don't think he wants to try to. He's going to spread it, Denny. If I'm Wink, I'm preparing for a ton of empty. I'm preparing for a ton of one back motion to empty. I think he's not going to try to run the football against us in a physical way that he might try to do some other teams. So that's what I'm expecting from him. But I think he's a damn good defensive coordinator, but he's different. He's more unique than the other guys we're going to face. Nebraska, Denny, this guy is good. I listened to the Big Ten Network interviews of the coordinator. This guy worked under the Buffalo Bill guy. He's worked under some real good people. I forget his name. The Nebraska defensive coordinator. He's no clown. He's good. So the head coach with the Buffalo Bills is a defensive guy, and he's a damn good defensive coach. Nebraska will be every bit as tough a football game to win as Oklahoma, and that's why I really like our schedule. Again, it's perfect for us. We get our young quarterback a game at home. We go on the road in Nebraska or to Oklahoma. That'll prepare us and prepare him for playing in a hostile environment for our Big Ten football game. So the Nebraska guy is a damn good defensive coordinator. Oklahoma's got a good defensive core. Fickle is a defensive guy. He's got Tressel, an old D'Antonio guy. He's a little different than Michigan. He's the D'Antonio defense and Fickle defense is kind of the old D'Antonio stuff, which is not like our stuff so much. The USC guy is a former Wink guy. Ooh. So he's our stuff. You got it? He worked for Wink.
Yep.
So that'll be like, who's better at running our stuff on defense? The OG or the subordinate, the guy that worked under him? But he's a good defensive coach. They stole him away from UCLA. And then Washington, Denny. Washington's got the guy that was at Illinois under Bielema. He was fired as the head coach at Purdue, right?
Yep.
What's his name? Ryan Walters, right?
Yep.
So he's a damn good defensive coach, man. He worked under Bielema. You remember the problems we had moving the ball against them a couple years ago, right? When he was the coordinator there.
Yeah, they had a good defense.
Remember that year we pulled it out of our ass at the end, right? But anyway, he's a good defensive coach. And then Michigan State has Joe Rossi, who is he's been in the Big Ten a long time. He's damn good. And then Purdue is the guy that was the head coach at Missouri. He's a defensive guy. Okay. Barry Odom is a defensive. He's a defensive coach. Venables, defensive coach. Rule at Nebraska is a defensive coach. Wisconsin, Fickle is a defensive coach. That's what they play. That's what they coached as coordinators. And then, so Purdue's going to be a damn good defense, Denny. Northwestern, he's, it's again, we play over there. Maryland, he's had a bunch of different defensive coordinators. That's probably Loxley's problem. One of his problems more. He hasn't had continuity with his coaching staff. He keeps going through coordinators. And then Matt Patricia at Ohio State, we're all hoping that we outcoach him. So I would say our guy is the best. I think our guy is the best. The next best, who would I not want to face with average talent? Who would I not want to face with average talent?
Venables.
Well, I said Venables is good. He's got a good proven record. Might be Venables with average talent. The guy at Nebraska is damn good. So the last three teams we play might have the three guys that I would want to see. You follow me? That I don't know that they're proven solid studs at the college level. So the last three guys, I would say, let's play them. Everybody else is, in my opinion, pretty damn good proven defensive coaches. People might disagree with me about Patricia, but I don't know what he's going to do as a college coach.
Yeah, I mean, he was good as a defensive coordinator under Belichick. He proved to be an a-hole as a head coach, but, it doesn't mean that he's going to be a jerk with being a DC at Ohio State. Little humble pie there, who knows? But I don't know. I think Michigan goes over there, takes a pencil out of his shirt and snaps it over his head.
Yeah, because, I just think about Wisconsin, man. Fickle is a damn good defensive coach. That's what he did. He was a coordinator, and he's got Tressel working with him, and those guys they're just good, man. And then USC is, my point is there's no lamb chops there that are going to be easy to outcoach. And don't sleep on Washington, man.
Let me give you another schedule question, because people have been looking at this schedule and they have noticed that Michigan does not have 2 consecutive home games. And this is the first time since 1937 that the Michigan football program does not have 2 home games. What do you make of, and then they have, back-to-back road games, Northwestern and Maryland, before they play Ohio State after their second bye. What do you make of the lack of not being home for 2 weeks in a row for the first time since 37?
Yeah, the big thing is you only got six home games then, right?
Yeah.
So that's unique in itself because normally, Michigan will have, obviously we have the 2 lamb chops at home, but
they got 8 next year, but they're
taking.
That's
how it goes. Sometimes you get 8, and something. Now here we are with 6. You'd like to be 7 every year. You know what I mean? But that's tougher on the kids. But it's not as good for the fans, and not as good for Ann Arbor. Yeah, Denny, it's tougher. You go on the road, there's a lot that can happen, man. So.
Yep. Well, there it is. Well, we've answered the questions. It was great. For those of you that have just joined up here and, you're on the West Coast, you're like, what's going on? Is it 2:00 in the afternoon? No, it's not. We just, Michigan's got some stuff going on that I wish I could tell you it was like a practice or something that I'm heading over to. That's not the case, but they do have some things going on that I will be attending. So that's why we're here this morning. And Scar is very flexible. He slicked back.
Yeah, Danny, let me just pump a couple more things.
Go ahead.
One of the offensive coordinators we're going to face that I have a lot of respect for, who I think is kind of a headache, is the guy in Nebraska. Daniel Holgerson is all over the place. He ain't afraid to throw the bomb on his end. He's a courageous guy. So he's like Ben Johnson, man. He's down in distance and all that. So we got to deal with him, with a kid that started 13 games. Dana Holgerson has my respect. So that's that. I just want to point that out. I listened to him talk the other day with the Big Ten Network, and Matt Rule's hired some good coaches, and that's about it, Denny. But I tell you, the big thing that I think we're looking at now, I think it's looking at the reports and looking what people are saying that we're going with Bryce. Well, okay. Big question I have though is I want to know who number 2 is. Then I want to know who the second quarterback is, and we won't know.
I think it's between Jaden Davis and Jake Garcia.
Yeah.
Right so Keene has been slow to get back in there, and I don't know. I mean, so it would be total speculation for me. Michigan's not going to come out and say, he's got a sore arm or whatever else, but he just doesn't. We know that he didn't participate in spring ball, although they said he could have in that last week, but it doesn't sound like he's out there fully, with the green light, to compete so far. So to me, that makes me think that he's out of the picture to compete for the even the backup job. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a little different. We get Sherrone up.
I don't know what he did. We don't know what that injury.
We don't know. We don't know. That's right. So,
but because those. Okay, if we're going with Bryce, and then now you got to make a decision. It's same as summer. Okay, do you go with this Garcia kid? He started maybe 15, 16 games, or do you? Because who do you give those reps to is very important in that New Mexico game. Very important.
Yes, that's going to be a fascinating.
You do not want to waste reps on Garcia if that's the way. But if it's close, in my eyes, if it's close, I'm going with the young guy. I'm always going with the young guy.
Yeah, I think when it comes down, if you had a bunch of easy games, I would be quicker to put whoever the number 2 quarterback is. But let's just say that it's going to be Bryce Underwood against New Mexico, I might wait until the fourth quarter. It could be a 45-3 game, and I would still have Bryce out there because I want him to get.
Nah, forget Denny. You got to have your kid ready, man. I don't believe in.
Well,
I understand you saying. I don't agree with it because I want to get. I was a player in 1984 when Jim Harbaugh got his arm busted up, and our second team kid did not have enough reps prior to the fifth game of the year, who was thrown in the game. So that always affected me as a coach. So the decision is, this is how you have to think about that decision. If, okay, we go through the New Mexico game, we kick their ass, and now we go to Oklahoma, and we're, things are going good, and something happens to Bryce, a little tweak, a little hamstring or something, who knows? And we're up 10-7, and it's fourth quarter. Who are you putting in the game? You're going to put Garcia, who started 18, 15 games, or you're going to put the kid, Jaden Davis. I mean, those are the decisions you have to make in terms of your preparation. Who do you give reps to against New Mexico? Those are the decisions I'm thinking about. If something hits the fan at Oklahoma and this kid has to get thrown in the game, I ain't worried about beating them 49-0, getting this guy more reps. I gotta get number 2 ready.
Yeah, I think the flip side of the argument is you've got a 17-year-old quarterback right now who, is going to be playing his first game. You want him to, the extra reps or how many ever reps he would get, even if it was, 50-0 at halftime, bringing him out in the third quarter, having him, those reps are going to be valuable, even if it's 50-0 through 3 quarters. I just noticed that almost every coach, almost every fan, almost every media member will look and say, I would get the backup quarterback in. Most coaches defer to giving him one more series than what the fans and the media would do. And almost to a fault, I've seen that. But I can understand it with Underwood. You want him to – everything to me would be about, I get, what happens if he, slips on a bar. So I don't know, I get that part, but I want to go in making sure that he feels as comfortable and has as most, it's just like I'm giving him the majority of the reps game week. That's why I'm naming him the starting quarterback on the 25th. I want him to be locked, loaded, locked in, and I'm going to be standing next to him, and I'm trying to do everything I can to get the best out of Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking about my team, Denny. I don't want him.
I know you are.
I don't want him sitting there at Oklahoma, and we got our guy going in there pissing his pants. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a quick story. I never forget this. My first year starting, we're hammering Northwestern, and we're up like 49-0, and they're taking all the best starters are coming out. I was starting the game. I played every down on defense, and my position coach would not take me out of the game, and he. All the backups are in there. I'm still in the game. He grabbed me. He said, I just want you to know, because he saw me when I came off he said, I want you to know, you got a long way to go. You need more work. We're up 49-0. So he would have agreed with your philosophy, Danny. Again, I wasn't the starting quarterback, but whatever. A lot of thought, a lot of different opinions on that. But I want to have my team ready. I want a backup that's confident. I want my backup having a sense of confidence too.
Understandable, your approach to that. We do have some breaking news here at the end of the show, and Andre is exactly right. You've got Peter Bourque is made it official. Michigan adds the major piece to its future quarterback plans. They get the commitment of the 27 four-star passer, Peter Bourque from Massachusetts. There you go. He picked Michigan over Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia.
Oh, man, that's great news, Danny. Look how he holds the football. Look at him. That looks like Tom Brady right there. Look at him, how he holds it.
I am going to give you like the Tom Brady. Let me, when I was I was getting these quotes. I had you in mind, Scar, because I thought Scar will like these quotes. All right, these are the quotes from Peter Bourque. Are you ready? As a program, Michigan is one of the few schools that can compete for national championships, develop player for football in the real world, and have their players leave the world with a world-class degree. Peter Bourque went on and said, great people across the program and an amazing culture. There it is from the youngster Peter Bourque, who commits to Michigan. And you say those kind of things, Scar, about Michigan and amazing culture. And he wants to compete for championships. He also wants to develop as a player. And he wants to get developed in the real world and leave with a world-class degree. I mean, all right, pinch me a little bit, everything. He sounds like a real one, a great one. And it's a great day for Michigan with the hardest position, having this as a pipeline now from Underwood to Smigel to Bourque. I mean, you just can't be happier right now if you're a Michigan fan. It's so you're like these pictures I keep seeing of these hogs that it's 100 degrees out and they show them where the mud puddle is. You're as happy as a hot hog in a cool mud puddle if you're a Michigan fan today.
I think Tom Brady's been on the phone with some of these top kids. He talked to Underwood. There's no question he's talked to that kid. Listen to what he said. He's on the phone with Brady because he sounds like he quoted everything Tom Brady would have told him.
He sounds like Tom Brady. I'm with you.
Yeah, he just quoted everything Tom Brady would have told him as to why to come to Michigan. And then the culture is what he's seeing when he meets Sherrone Moore and all the coaching staff and the players. That's culture again. Culture is about the leader. So I think he's repeating what he's heard on the recruiting trail. It's all good, Danny. We're fired up, man. Confident.
You're so fired up. It's so good, man. Maybe we get everybody going in the AM. So today. So great job, Scar. Can't wait to.
All right, man. Go blue.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli, on a great day.